All right, fifth grade, we are going to be wrapping up our study on fractions today, and you're going to be doing that with a test. Now, before you try to do the test, I want you to watch this fraction review video where we're going to be reviewing everything we learned in the past month of studying adding fractions. All right, so for our first example, you're going to be asked to express a fraction in lower or higher terms. So let's look and review our fraction bar. Remember, when we're looking at this rainbow fraction bar, the red bar represents our whole. If I were to cut my fraction once, that gets me halves. 2 halves equal a whole. If I were to cut my fraction twice, that gets me thirds. 3 thirds equals a whole. If I were to cut my fraction bar 3 times, that gets me fourths. 4 fourths equal a whole, and 2 fourths equal a half. All right, now let's try to do that looking at a fraction. All right, let's take a look at 2 fourths. Well, 2 fourths, can I express that in any lower terms? Yes, I can. Well, what lower terms can I do that? Hey, remember I just said 2 fourths equals a half. Looking at my rainbow fraction bar. How can I prove that with numbers? Using division. Well, what number can fit inside of a 2 and a 4? A 2 can. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. 4 divided by 2 equals 2. So 2 fourths equals 1 half. Very good. Now for our next example, we're going to be looking at 1 half and asking ourselves, how many eighths can that equal? Well, let's go back to our rainbow fraction bar. If I have a 1 half, how many eighths does that equal? Well, let's take our straight edge and go straight down to the eighths. There's the eighths. How many eighths does that equal? 4 eighths. Very good. Now let's prove it with our numbers. All right, so I have 1 half. And we just looked at our rainbow fraction bar and said that that equals 4 eighths. When I go to a higher term for my fractions, I'm going to multiply. Well, 2 times what equals 8? 2 times 4 equals 8. Whatever I do to the bottom of the fraction, I need to do to the top. 1 times 4 equals 4. So 1 half equals 4 eighths. Very good. Let's take a look at another example. The next thing you're going to be doing is expressing a mixed number in a higher or lower term. So if I have 1 4 ninths, let's write 1 4 ninths as an improper fraction. Well, how do you do that? Remember, we have this little strategy that we're going to follow. My whole number is next to my numerator over my denominator. If I'm writing that as an improper fraction, my denominator stays on the bottom, but now my top is my whole number times my denominator plus the numerator. So let's do that up here. Denominator stays as a 9. Now I'm going to write my whole number 1 times my denominator 9 plus the numerator 4. Let's crunch the numbers. 1 times 9 is 9. 9 plus 4 is 13. 9 stays on the bottom. So 1 4/9 written as an improper fraction equals 13/9. Now let's look at an example where I need to take a mixed number into take a improper fraction into a mixed number. I have 17 over 2. Well, what strategy do I use for that? It's the exact opposite of what we just wrote down here. My numerator over my denominator equals division bar, numerator in the box, denominator out of the box. My quotient is my whole number, and my remainder is my new numerator. I want you to pause the video right now by just clicking in the middle of the screen and take a sticky note and copy this down, because this is very important to our understanding of operating with fractions. All right, now that you've done that and you've come back, let's convert the 17/2. Division bar, 17 goes in the box, 2 goes outside the box. 17 divided by 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 17 subtract 16 is 1. So I have 8 remainder 1. And now I can write that as 8 wholes, numerator 1, denominator stays as a 2. So 17/2 equals 8.5. Very good. All right, now we're going to be reviewing how to add fractions with like denominators. I have 5/8 plus 2/8. When I have like denominators, I can keep the denominator the same, and my answer is 8. And now I add 5 plus 2. 5 plus 2 gets me 7. 7/8. Now I need to simplify. Can I simplify? No, I can't, because 7 is prime. 7/8 is my answer. Now let's look at an example where the denominator is not alike. Let's take a look at 2/3 plus 4/6. I need to get a common denominator. To do that, I can look at my tens chart to help me out. And what's a common denominator between 3 and 6? Well, that's going to be 6. Because it's 6, I can leave 4/6 the same. But I need to change 2/3. How do you change a 3 into a 6? 3 times 2 is 6. When I'm changing a denominator, whatever I do to the bottom, I got to do to the top. 2 times 2 is 4. Now I have 4/6 plus 4/6. When I'm adding After I've got a common denominator, the denominator stays the same. And now I add those numerators together. 4 plus 4 is 8. Uh-oh, 8/6 is an improper fraction. So now I need to convert it into a mixed number. Remember, I do that by putting 8 in the box, 6 outside of the box. Remember, look at your sticky note that you just wrote. That's what's going to help you. 8 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times 6 is 6. 8 subtract 6 is 2. 1 remainder 2. I can write that. 1 is my whole number. 2 is my numerator. 6 is my denominator. But it's not all the way simplified yet, because 2/6 can be simplified. Ask yourself, what numbers can go inside of 2 and 6? Well, 2 can, so I divide 2, divide by 2. 1 is still going to stay the same. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 2/3 plus 4/6, converting it, changing it to a mixed number, and then simplifying it, gets me a final answer of 1 and 1/3. Now we're going to do one more example where we're going to be adding mixed numbers together. So let's take a look at these mixed numbers. If I have 6 and an 1/8 plus 5 and 3/4. Let's add those together. Well, I can't add them together right away. I need to get a common denominator. Can I change a 4 into an 8? Yes, I can, which means my common denominator is going to be 8. Since it's going to be 8, I can keep 6 and 1/8 when I rewrite the problem. Now I need to change 3/4 into 8s. How do you change a 4 into an 8? 4 times 2 equals 8. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 3 times 2 is 6. 5 is my whole number, that stays the same. Now I can add them together. 1/8 plus 6/8 gets me 7/8. Now I add the whole numbers. 6 plus 5 gets me 11. Can 7/8 be simplified? No, it can't because 7 is prime. 11 and 7/8 is my answer. All right, guys. Now, if you want to review how to do word problems, you can do that by looking back at the other videos from this week's playlist. Good luck on your test. Take your time and do your best.